check to check, check, check. I got to get you all set up. Oh, you got it. You're in control. There you go. You know what to do. You're a professional. So it's the Social Authority Show. I am your host, Pat Hilton. I am joined by the lovely and talented Brittney Kosev. How are you?
So good.
It's so good to be here. And this is the first time anyone's seen me streaming with this setup, because the first time I've ever streamed with this setup with a guest. So you guys are in for a treat. And we recently rebranded the show. The show is called Social Authority. And that's because all of us in our respective categories have a ton of expertise that we can give to people. But how are we going to position it as authorities if we don't use these tools, these social platforms to do it? And so that's what we do here. And so it's lovely to have you here. And tell us exactly how you got into real estate and what you're doing in real estate now for the people that don't know.
Well, my entrance into real estate is probably like a lot of other people's. I entered by some other means. Right? Not a lot of realtors I know. I have a couple on my team that straight out came into real estate from high school or college or whatever. Most of us, though, had a different career. Most of us transitioned because we saw a necessity or we had a passion or whatever. So mine was the same. I was a school librarian. That's what my master's degree is in. I was a fourth grade teacher before that. And
Nice.
I got my real estate license to make extra money. I saw I was getting a divorce at the time. I needed to make ends meet for me and my kids. And so got my license. And really, Pat, I could have sold Cincy. I could have, I don't know, hooked on the corner. I could have done a lot of things.
Right.
But instead, I looked at the lady who sold my house to us. And I was like, damn, if she can do it, I can do it. And so she was making a lot of money doing it. So I got my real estate license, started selling, and then finally was able to leave education and just go full on in real estate.
And now here you are.
Now here I am.
It's beautiful. And so the cool thing about real estate is you don't need a license.
You need a license.
Well, if you're doing what you do.
Yes.
So I come from, all right, so I love that you said that, because you come from the agent world.
Yes.
And so
But
I'm
also an investor.
But you're also an investor. And that's how we met, because I think, and hear me out here as someone who's on the outside looking in, thinking like an investor, the people I look at in the space that think like an investor make more money than everyone else. Am I right or wrong?
I think that you're absolutely right. People who treat selling real estate with a license like it's an investment into themselves also make a lot of money. If they treat it like a business and not a hobby or a side piece.
Right.
This is my full-time job and I'm a full-time investor. So I'm dual.
Right. And I think that's the important thing, is you have to create a hybrid model for yourself, because it's so competitive in real estate, especially with the agents versus investors thing that's going on right now, because you guys are competing sometimes, but the people that work both ways and work with local people on the ground and are nationwide, again, that's the category I came from. When I first came into real estate, I thought everyone was a wholesaler.
Yeah.
And then I started to realize there's like traditional financing and creative financing and this financing and that financing, and everybody's selling you some kind of financing. And it's like, whoa, because I'm not actively in the trenches. I'm just a marketer.
Yeah.
And so I figured out how to figure out what someone's specific expertise is and how I can amplify that so that they get the most deals in that category.
So we at BK Real Estate, because now I own a brokerage.
Right.
Our niche is that we're investor friendly, and not in the sense of like, yeah, we'll list your flips. Yeah, anybody can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're throwing out creative financing. You know, we know sub twos, wraps. We understand novations. We can do things that the normal agent can't do, and that's because I'm so passionate about that. I want my agents and anybody that we represent to understand that we're not your average agent.
See, I like that. And when we first got to talking, I picked up on that about you, is that you weren't thinking like, I'm just a real estate agent. You were thinking about how does the whole structure of each deal work and what deal structure fits each particular deal the best. Because the best people know how to split it up, right?
Well, and you leave money on the table if you're not thinking as a whole. Right? If I'm only going after consumer retail buyers and sellers, then I'm leaving out a major segment of our population. You know, we were connected through a group of investors that wholesale, flip, do novations, creative financing. They know me because I'm in that space with them. And there's not many agents that can talk both. And
No, there's
so
not.
we, that's something we pride ourselves in. And it really came out of necessity. I knew that I didn't want to just make $200,000 a year. I wanted to make $1 million a year. Well, in order to make $1 million a year, you got to understand it all.
Yeah, that's true. And again, this is so awesome that you're here because you're invested in your brand. And that's another reason why I came across your page and your profile, and I'm like, she's very active. You had some nice listing videos that looked really, really nice, really professional. And I look at someone like you and I'm like, okay, well, there's a reason why you've started your own thing and why you've got a lot of people that passionately work with you, and you're creating a team and a community and stuff like that. And it's because women need to be represented more in the marketplace. And when they see someone, and times have changed, especially since I was a kid, when people see a woman out there doing it like you're doing it, they root for that person. And I think that women feel alone, just like I felt alone as a musician, because I felt like I had nobody rooting for me, and it's me against the world, and all I have is my songs or something. And that's really not true. There's so many people that are on people's side when they feel like that. And I think that when you put the message out there that I'm doing this and you're putting out these listings and I'm doing deals and this, you're going to continue over the next 3 years, if you do that on social media continuously, to attract and build a tribe of especially women that want an opportunity and that deserve an opportunity to provide.
Men, women, you said times have changed. There's this great philosopher, Pat. I don't know if you know him, poet, philosopher. His name's Lil Wayne. And he said, times have changed. Fuck it, get a new watch. I'm such a believer in that, right?
Yeah. Everything hits people
times
differently.
Have changed. Let's get a new watch.
Okay, get a new watch. I mean, at some point, I love that. And if that's the reference, if that's the point of reference for you and other people, listen, he's right. You have to set a new standard for yourself at some point where I'm not taking anything lower than this. I'm not going to drive the shitty car anymore. I'm not going to show up with the shitty gear anymore. I'm not going to be.
With that, though, sometimes you feel like an imposter, right?
You can.
I bet when you started doing all of this, you're like, man, I'm good at X. I'm a good musician. Right. Am I going to be good at this? And I feel that way all the time because I went from, this school librarian reading books to children to now leading a company. And we have 100 agents across the state of Texas. I'm the broker owner of BK Real Estate. And my goal is to not be mediocre, right? My goal is to be next level.
Well, right.
But that comes with this imposter syndrome that I feel sometimes. Like, man, why are these people listening to me when I just used to read books to children?
Yeah, and I think that sometimes we try to mentally disqualify ourselves from these rewards that we're receiving. Like, that can be a painful process too, is realizing that you do deserve to be happy. And that your team does deserve to get paid. And it's not just you who deserves to drive a Porsche or have a nice car. They deserve it too. And X, Y, and Z. And when you start to see, if I can get so good that every single person that works for our company drives a Porsche, then now I've really made a difference.
But I believe that. Like, to my core, I believe that. We were looking at our 2024 numbers. We've only been open about 2 years, our brokerage. I say our because it's a team. I work with my two sisters. They are admin at the company, and we also sell real estate together. And so we.
Yeah, it's a big we.
We, absolutely. And so we were looking at these 2024 numbers, and I was blown away, Pat, to see the commission that rolled through my company into my agent's hands. Do you want to guess what year 2 revenue
So
looked
what
like?
you paid out your agents?
And myself, just all revenue that flowed through the brokerage, which is commission.
So top line.
Right? Yeah.
Top line, all total sales. So this would include the total sale of every house that you did, right?
The commission.
Just the commission.
Just the commission.
I'm going to go with $2.4 million.
It's a solid amount, and you're close, but not. We sold $6 million worth of commission flowed.
I was
through
way
my
low.
brokerage.
I didn't give you enough credit.
Isn't that mind
BK just
boggling?
slapped me upside the cheeks. Drop a bomb on that part when it comes up in the show.
I know. Listen, I used to make $60,000 as a school librarian. That was a lot of money to me. And I used to think so goddamn small. Sorry, I'm cussing.
No, you're
I
all
used to
good.
think so small because I thought 60,000 was a lot. And now, I mean, I can make 60,000 in a week
In
if
one
I put
deal.
my mind to it.
Yeah, one deal.
Yeah, I could make it in a day if I
You
really
could wholesale
wanted.
one deal and do that spread. Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't think off of just a commission off of an exit of a listed property. You think of the exit of anything that comes through our pipeline that's competitive that we can buy at X or sell for X, we're going to try and take, even if you have to take it to listing.
But that's
so
what,
how do you
what
get
kind
your
of
leads?
floats back to why we're different and unique. We look at all of it. We're
That's
not
what
just
I
going to
mean.
say we're going to look for retail buyers at the $400,000 price point. We look for retail buyers at the $400,000 price point, but we also look for people who can't qualify. So now we're owner financing, we're creative financing. And so we open ourselves up to so much more. I closed a deal with my sisters on Monday, and it was a $1.3 million house in Midlothian. It was listed for 2 years before we got the listing. 2 years before we got the listing. We got the listing from a creative finance person here in DFW. They knew that we were the group to send it to. We listed it. We got a creative finance offer because we could speak that. And we closed it. The seller got what he wanted for the property. The buyer got a property that he couldn't have qualified for with an interest rate that he couldn't have qualified for, 2.75%. And then we made, several $1,000s in commission.
Dude, that's awesome.
Win, win, win.
Well,
Gang.
Gang. Get the watch. But that's the game, is figuring out exactly how you can qualify what comes into your funnel and then amplify what comes into your funnel. That's a tough thing, is figuring out what that sweet spot is. And if you're able to create a sweet spot in multiple categories, the people, again, that I see that are the most successful real estate investors or business acquisition specialists across the board, because again, you have to understand, I didn't know anything about business 6 years ago. I was singing in bars for $100 a night. And then Cardone put me on stage, and I started hanging out with all these business people that didn't know shit about social media. And I know a lot about posting posters on social media because I did it and sang in every bar corner in America for 10 years. So they needed me and I needed them. And so I figured out how to find that sweet spot in events and communication and social media, and how to pull that into people's businesses and create that outbound positive social influence that everybody needs. And that's something that you're really good at. Do you find a lot of people messaging you on Facebook and stuff that want to work with you? How does that attracting a recruit process work for you guys?
I don't know. I'm like a little hippity dippity for
Do
a
it.
minute because that's who I am.
Do it.
I feel like I'm a good combination.
Hey, this is your show, girl. This is your show today.
I'm the main character of my story.
Take
in
it,
general,
girl.
But I'll be the main character of yours.
It's
today,
your
too.
house.
I'm very much like law of attraction, Abraham Hicks. It did so much for my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in trailers. I'm the oldest of 7. My family could not take two $10 bills and rub them together. We just couldn't. It just wasn't part of how I grew up. And so I had that scarcity mindset for so long. For so long. I was talking to a gal who's going to be opening a division for us in Tyler yesterday, and she's like, Brittney, in this hour that we've been talking, you've said money's easy to make 4 times. I was like, oh, did I? Because it is. Money is easy to make. That's something that I've learned that I didn't used to believe. So first off, with recruiting, it's the same. I put off the vibe of you want to work with us because I believe that people should. I believe that if you're serious about real estate and you want more than some of those big box brokerages will offer you, if you really want to understand real estate in its truest forms,
Right.
which is not always a retail transaction.
No, it's not.
Before we had this system for selling houses, we were doing deals under the table. We were a guy walking up to a guy and shaking hands and let's buy a house. And so creative things were happening well before the system that is now in place has allowed. So I put off the vibe of you want to learn real estate, then you're going to come to us, and I know you're going to want to be here. That's how
great.
we recruit.
Yeah, because there's no point in forcing it. And I was pulling up the stream to see if anybody had posted comments because it's kind of hard to see from here. But I'm sure that we're going to get a response, especially once we chop this up, and I'll send you a bunch of files because people want to have this conversation of who am I working for and who am I doing business with.
Authentic.
Yeah, and they're tired of the yachts and the jet skis. And by the way, that stuff's fun, but magnifying that 4-hour afternoon of the 5th year of your entrepreneurship journey and acting like that's entrepreneurship is just false.
What is it, the 80-20 rule? And it applies to literally everything. There's the law of averages. And if you take a bunch of things that you are tracking and then you average them out, you'll have ratios, right? My days are not all podcasts with Pat.
Right.
It's a lot of boring shit. It's a lot of waking up at 4:30 and going to bed at 9, and my days are boring. Mm-hmm. I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids. But that structure, that discipline of living those days is what allows me to have fun days where I'm jamming out to Lil Wayne on my way to Pat and got my blunt blowing in the background. Not my actual blunt, although I'm not opposed.
The song
from a lyrical
right.
poet.
Yeah. And dude, those are the moments. It's like The Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith in that scene. And
also a great song, Kid Cudi, The Pursuit of Happiness.
It is a great song, yeah. And I think that those moments, that's what we seek. But so often we've experienced those moments at times that we didn't look for them. Yeah. And that's what makes them special.
Yeah. But you know what people fall into the trap of doing is they live for those moments,
yep.
that drive to Pat with the song in the background and the sunshine. They think that's what happiness is, but happiness really is the waking up at 4:30, doing my morning rituals that I know are setting me up for success, and going to bed at 9:30, putting my kids to sleep and doing my evening rituals, going to bed present, not numbing myself to the world around me. And that's what allows me to live this life.
Dude, it's awesome. And I think that that's so inspiring for everybody. And that's what entrepreneurship is it's early mornings. And sometimes it's late nights too.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
You do, all the time. And that's what makes our agency different from everyone else is this is the first time anyone's ever had access to us. We were like this private only virtual thing. And then I started filming people in my living room. And then those people started to get a bunch of views, and we realized we needed an actual place for people to come. We needed an actual place to have events and meetups and masterminds. And so how am I going to build a community? I'm not from Dallas. I'm from St. Louis, but I've lived everywhere. And it's like, okay, well, I have to have an environment that people want to come to. And I have to provide that to the community that made me if I want to make the community better.
Yeah, I love that.
Because until I came here, we didn't have shit. We came here with very little. We had 1 or 2 clients, but they were the first 2 clients that ever were real clients of Pat Hilton, the business person to be. And so Dallas, it made us. And so how do I create something that everybody can use and that we can all pile into on a Saturday or a Sunday and have a mastermind and get the best of the best and make moves and inspire audiences? And you can speak and this person can speak and we can have these discussions because you can see how this is set up. We could fit 6 or 7 people in here.
Yeah.
And so the next level, I think for me, and I think that you could help with this, is how do we bring large groups of people together and figure out who needs you for this, and this, and then Pat can do this and that, and then this guy and that guy can fund, and then everyone comes together and starts doing more business instead of coming together at some of these conferences and just trying to look cool.
And I think, though,
the days of that are over.
It's also, though, you want to do business with people that you like.
Right.
And so sometimes it's okay to not talk about business and
it
just
is.
Hang out.
It is.
Get to know people.
It is, because at the end of the day, if you don't like the person, the business that you do with them isn't going to last very long anyway.
Right. I'm not going to want to send deals to a loser.
No. Well, and
I mean, I will for the right payment.
Right, but people that don't respond.
I'll send it to the people I like
yeah,
first.
People that don't respond or that don't treat you this way or that way or the other way.
Or don't respect your time, that don't respect your energy.
And then
that's one thing that I've really started to understand is your energy is just as important as your time. And when you're doing like Dan Martell and Buy Back Your Time, when you are thinking about what your day looks like and you're trying to weed out or delegate different tasks, you do a time audit, right? And when you do your time audit, you're not just analyzing your time, you're analyzing the energy, because we all want to live in our genius. And that's where we are fully engaged, we're fully present, and our energy is just on point. And doing things like this, Pat, I can tell this is your energy. This is probably your genius. Editing videos maybe is not so much. You probably could do it. You could be great at it. But your energy needs to be here. My energy needs to be here. I can analyze deals. I can search all day on the MLS. But I also know that my energy needs to be bringing people in and engaging and being authentic, because that's one of my core values, is authenticity and connection.
Well, and when you come out and you say, hey, this is what I stand for, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going, it inspires people that want to get off the couch to do it. And I think there's a lot of people out there that scroll these platforms that are looking for something.
Yeah.
And I remember looking for something too. And again, being someone that was like more of like a songwriter or something as a kid, it's like we searched for that feeling in music. But once the song ends, life comes back.
But then there's those legacy songs,
right? Those
kind that you play forever and ever and ever, because they hit so close to home that you have those connections to. And people are just like that. People come into your life for a reason, or for a season, or for life.
Yeah, and there's lessons to learn from all that. And so what song are we singing when someone else's song stops and it's back to our song? What song are people going to sing when they think about us? I always ask people that, like, because when I think, I wouldn't just invite you to my home if I didn't think that you were going to be even way bigger than what you're doing right now. I know all of us have potential, but someone has to hit the button and document it. And every 3, 4, 5 months, we're all hanging out and filming, or we're never going to get any better.
Yeah.
And so I think that for us, as business people and as entrepreneurs and as people that want to have a legacy, because everybody uses that word, but we have to film stuff and create stuff that lives forever.
Or I think too, it's building into people. I truly believe that when I am talking to my leadership team, we just had a retreat in Waco where I brought all of our division leaders together at our wonderful Waco Division Leaders Airbnb, our mentors, and just all the people that are building BK Real Estate with me. We all came together last weekend, and I don't know what kind of legacy I'm going to leave. Legacy is not one of my core values. I don't try to think that far ahead. I try to live in the present and do as much as I can right now with the people I have. I left that retreat, Pat, and I took my 14-year-old son. He was the only kid there, but I wanted him there to see. I was crying. I was crying as I left to have these adults that believe in what we're doing so much so that they gave up their weekend to come hang out with me and talk shop. That's a legacy. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's different for everybody. But I like I said, I mean, that word kind of gets tossed around. And so it's like, how can we use the time that we have with our lives to create something that when we're gone, someone can go back and click play and they can get something out of it.
Yeah.
I think that's all it is.
I'm so glad that people like Bob Proctor and Wayne Dyer had people recording them years and years ago. That's a legacy.
I'm telling you.
I still listen to all of their stuff, and it feeds me. Thank goodness someone was recording them.
Well, and I think that we can be that for a large group of people if we're willing to make the sacrifices and document it. And that's why this place exists. I mean, this was just a crazy idea in my head for the longest time. And I'm like, dude, everybody needs this.
And also people willing to be authentic, because that's one thing I will say for the librarians that are listening, for the teachers, for the single moms that are sitting there just like, I don't know if I could do it. You can. And maybe it takes some crazy person singing Lil Wayne songs, hanging out with Pat Hilton to tell you can do it, because money is easy to make. Money is easy to make, and you deserve it.
Yeah, you do. And all you have to do is find the correct solution for people. And so when you're looking at a real estate deal, let's say something comes across your desk or whatever, what's the first thing you look for that could qualify a potential lead as a conversion? What's
you mean
the first thing?
So if I get a deal, I think it's a deal.
Yeah, what makes you say I think it's a deal?
Well,
What are those characteristics? You look at a sheet of paper with specs and you say this is a deal.
All right. Well, you have to have your reps in the gym if you're going to be able to lift some weight, right?
Okay.
If you're going to go to the competition and be able to throw some weight up and to compete, you've got to do your reps.
Correct.
You've got to do your homework. So before I could even look at a sheet of paper and say that's a deal, I looked at tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of potential deals, analyzing them, really looking at them, calculating after repair values, understanding if what its market value is. I did my reps so that when I do see a piece of paper and I see a spread, I can say, okay, this one has potential. Let me dig deeper.
Got it.
But that's understanding what price per square foot is going for in a certain community. It's understanding what keywords the listing agent or the wholesaler put in the description to make me think, okay, this one is something that I could work with.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a setup. That's a shot for you from the blue line. So anything that comes across your desk, it's pre-qualified. At this point.
No, not really. I mean, the sisters and I, we still sell houses. We have a guy that we were looking for just this morning. He says, I want a 6% cash on cash return.
There
Brittney.
you go.
And so, all right, well, what does that mean, right? So it's because I understand what that means that I can go look at a deal and say, okay, well, at $500 cash flow a month, if he's putting X amount of dollars into it, then that's going to be a 10% cash on cash return. That's a deal for him. But that's the reps in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and you guys are fast at this stuff. That's why I asked that stuff. People like to see people break deals down. And it also depends on what you're looking at. You get different leads for different stuff, right?
Yeah.
So do you ever look at like the courthouse? Do you ever go to the courthouse or auctions or any of that kind of stuff?
I've never had to do that. I mean, I own rental properties myself. I invest in short-term, mid-term, and long-term rentals. I had a bunch of long-term rentals and I transitioned them from long-term to the mid-term route because I saw a need for that. I saw a way for me to make more money. But I didn't know what I was doing at first. Just took that time. So, but the majority of the deals I buy didn't buy off the courthouse steps. They came across my desk from wholesalers. And that's one of the things about BK Real Estate is we don't look at wholesalers and go, gross, nasty. We look at them like, hey, let's partner up.
Dude,
let's work together.
They got leads.
They have leads and they have deals.
Yeah. And they need an end buyer.
And I might have one, or it might be me.
I love that because so many times, again, this is just my outside point of view because I'm not in the trenches. I'm not competing with any of you for any of this. But from my outside perspective, there is definitely an agent versus investor kind of thing that happens, especially with wholesalers.
Listen, there's always going to be competition with anybody who wants to compete. I'm not competing with anybody.
You don't need to.
I don't need to. We're looking to close a deal. Do you have a deal? All right, let's go.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And so what about money? What kind of Yeah. So where do we get our money? Because you don't want to pay for all this out of your own pocket.
In which capacity?
In any kind of deal, do you buy it? Do you buy it for cash? Some people do. I say that, and some people are like, "Yeah, I do." So I don't know. I'm just asking questions.
I've done it all. I've purchased a house for cash, $21,000.
There you go.
I bought it for cash. It had a renter in there for $550 a month. So if you know anything about investing, there's this thing called the 1% rule, and that means if you can make 1% of your all-in amount, then that's a good cash flowing scenario. So
got it.
In this situation, it was $21,000 to buy the house, $550 a month rent. That's 2%. Solid.
Cha-ching.
What I didn't know is it was a meth head that was renting it.
Of course.
And so I got 2 months of rent, and then I had to evict him.
Of course it was.
But what's cool is then I put about $35,000 more cash into the deal. Thankfully, I sell a lot of real estate, and I'm good at what I do, so I had the cash. But then, so now at this point, I'm like, what, 70,000 in-ish. I put some financing on it, a revolving line of credit, in fact, which is another cool strategy. I had a 100% paid off asset that was not worth 70. At this point, it's worth 120,000 because of after repair value. 120,000. I put a revolving line of credit against it. I got 80% of that in cash that I could go and then buy, and I bought a short-term rental in Arlington, an ugly fixer-upper near the ballpark, fixed it up, and I was cash flowing about $2,000 a month on it, refinanced it, and then was able to pay off my RLOC, put permanent financing in place, and then I had 2 assets. So
that's a savvy move.
I know, right?
No, that really is. That's a hell of a play. So, damn. Yeah, that's great. So, yeah, I love the fact that you're willing to look at anything, because a lot of people have a specific buy box. They go with the specific buy box, and that's for real estate or acquisitions or anything that they do.
I am asset agnostic.
Okay.
So I don't care. You can sell me a barn dominium in Ohio. You can sell me a piece of land in Wichita Falls, Texas. If it's going to make me money, I'll look at it.
Well, and that should be the way to do it, because you want to work with as many people as possible. And if you've got someone who's a heat seeker in Barnesville, Ohio or whatever, then who cares? I mean, what if that person brings you a deal a month?
You know, and I will say this, there is Grant Cardone is all about like, hey, before you move into something else, 10 times what you're currently doing.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, and I can understand it.
Yeah.
But it's also okay for the people that like to be challenged, that like to look at new things. You have to know your personality type. I like to be challenged every day. So show me deals, let me understand them.
Right.
And if it's a fit, then I'm about it.
That's awesome. And I want to start doing like a live from here where we start to have people bring deals, and we've got like a panel of people that can analyze the deals.
Like a Shark Tank for investors.
Yeah, like wholesale Shark Tank or something.
Can I sit on the panel?
Yeah, I want you on the panel. That was your official invite on the air. So yeah. We need your representation on that. I think it would be good. Look at a deal. So then you've got like what Brittney would do versus what investor X or investor Y would do.
Yeah.
And then you've got me, who's like probably going to side with whichever one I think is going to make the most money.
Yeah, whoever's the most entertaining in the moment.
But I think that would be fun, and not everybody analyzes a deal the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably, not to like put myself in a box over here as a woman, but I probably am a little more emotionally driven than other investors.
That's okay.
If I hear a pretty story, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, and I had this conversation on another episode where we were talking about emotions in business, and a lot of those big guys are like, dude, no emotions in business. Always got to remove emotions. And I get that when it comes to real big decisions. I do. But I would also argue that if certain people didn't have a heart or didn't have any type of emotional side to them at all, I never would have been a product of this like business conference, personal development scene, because they never would have let me play my guitar on stage, and they never would have shared my videos.
Yeah.
If it was just all about business and all about money, which is what people who don't know a Grant Cardone or a Gary Vee, who've never shaken their hand or been on stage with them like me, sometimes are what they say about those people. And it's only because they've never worked with them before.
The reason that I'm sitting here able to talk about these things is because I met some great investors here in the DFW community. One of my very best friends, Josh Duke, he owns We Love Homes. It's a wholesaling company here. He had the patience, right, to sit with me and to talk through things with me so that I understood it. And he did it because he saw potential in me, and we were friends. There is emotional attachment. That comes into play in business. I do the same thing with agents on my team. If I feel like someone has potential, I'll bend what I say. I say, hey, I'm going to spend 80% of my time with the top 20%, but I don't. I mean, I give people chances too, because you never know. And someone also really may need that.
Yeah. And I think that when we self-analyze, like you said earlier, we feel like we're never worth it, or enough is never enough, or whatever. I still feel like that. I wake up today and I'm like, I'm capable of way more. And I'm not doing enough, and X, Y, and Z. And it's like, dude, I've never done more than what I'm doing right now, but it's still not enough.
That's a hunger that needs to be fed.
Yeah. And I think that now it's different because there's so many more people that are relying on me winning, and you too now. And if people didn't have a heart or any emotion or didn't share my videos or put me on their stages or whatever, I never would have found this community. Like you said, DFW changed everything for us. When we moved here and we met like Mike Hambright, Tim Harridge, and like the guys that have really done deals in Dallas for 15 years and that are still around and they're still primetime players. I had the fortunate opportunity of coming across them first, right? They were the first wave of guys that I met. And that was because I looked for the older, more experienced guys, because those are the guys that know deal flow. Those are the guys that know the people that I need to know. And gone are the days where we look at a young, hotshot 20-year-old kid on a jet ski and think that's what success looks like.
Yeah.
We look at the guys that got the stable marriage. They're great parents. They're great moms. They're great dads. They've been in business a long time. Everybody likes them. They make good money. They take care of shit. That's what I look at. And I'm like, all right, well, that guy's got it down.
I will say this, as someone who does not have a stable marriage.
Well,
'cause I
right.
don't have
I'm just
one,
saying.
but
I'm just saying.
There's
I
anomalies.
am a dad and a married dad.
Yeah, but there's anomalies in every group, and I think that you have to give people a shot. You have to talk to them, and you can form your opinions from there.
Yeah.
Right? Because we all walk into any situation with preconceived opinions, notions, ideals about someone based on the way they look, the way they talk, what their social media looks like. But if you really get to know someone, it may just blow you away.
Well, yeah, and it's not even a judgy thing. It's just when I came into here, I'm married, getting older.
Well, and you have your avatar, right?
Well,
you have your avatar of like the people that are doing it.
These guys are kind of like me, and they're really doing it. So let's start there, and then we'll go from there. Because you always got to look at past any of that other social stuff or personal stuff. It's like, do people trust this person? Yes. That you go where the trust is at.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people are like, is this popular? You got to be careful with that one, because what's popular can get you in a whole bunch of trouble. And what's popular now probably won't be popular in 6 more months.
And that's the thing about social media is I think that there has to be some sort of vetting too. It can't
that's where I was going.
Be how many likes someone's getting, because they can put out some good content and they can say they know about X, Y, and
Anything.
Z. But those are just shorts, right? Those are just quick reels that maybe someone was feeding into their ear. And so there's some vetting you have to do too in any situation.
And that's where the masterminds and the meetups and all that stuff becomes really important, because you can have conversations with people and you can say, hey, I either want to work with this person or I don't.
Right.
And it's not a negative thing, but you're going to get to a point in life where you're like, all right, well, who do I want to build with?
You know, it's funny. We were connected through Nick Sicilian, TJ Kosen, and them. They send me deals now. They send me leads that don't work for them. I help them personally with stuff. They did not do that though until I got to know them really well. We played Catan and they beat me several times.
What is Catan? What is this?
It is a strategy game. It's so much fun.
All right, I'm gonna have to Google this.
Yeah, you might not have the patience for it.
I might not. Like, I'm not good with games. My wife likes to play the guess the card on my forehead game, and I'm just like, come on, man.
Catan is a long process. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. But the point is, they had to get to know me on a deeper level before they started trusting me with business, and I get it.
Because what happens when you trust someone with your business is you're also trusting them with your reputation.
Yeah.
And so me being like the performer guy first, and then I learned business second, I think that being the performer guy first benefited me in a lot of ways, because most people don't have that category locked down at all.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to walk up in front of an audience and just be themselves.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, that was all I had. It's all I ever did to pay the bills, was just being Pat.
I was reading to children for
a
long time.
You did it. And so you have to figure out, like, hey, the more you're you, the more you're worth.
The more you're you, and the more you can say it to people proudly, because that's the other thing, that back to that imposter syndrome. Yeah. I love the fact that sometimes I feel like an imposter still, because that tells me that I'm in the right spot to grow.
Dude, I love that you brought this. You keep saying that, and this is social authority, right? It's the first time I've ever filmed with this as the name, and I called it like social marketing and like this
I like
thing and that thing.
authority.
But
That's good.
because I didn't want to use the word authority, because I was kind of like, I don't know. Does that insinuate that I've got millions of followers or that I've got hundreds? When I kind of don't. But it's like I've worked with all the biggest people.
Yeah.
From Cardone to Vaynerchuk to, shared the stage with Frisella and Tim Grover, Michael Jordan's coach, introduced Michael Jordan's coach in Chicago, Tim Grover, personal trainer. It's like, you don't need to explain this to anybody.
But sometimes you do, and that's okay, because people need to know that you are an authority. And it may not be because of your like count or your followers or your subscribers, but when you're telling your story and they hear, hey, I've done this and I've done this, that builds your authority without you having to say it when you're telling it in a story. I'm starting a podcast this year.
Good, you
it's
should.
One of my 2025 goals. It's not about real estate, though. I say all the time, and it's kind of my mantra right now, what got me here, sitting in this chair, is not going to get me there. To the point of that highest self, Brittney, that I'm trying to get to, that maybe is on a yacht with jet skis. I don't fucking know.
I hope it is.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
I hope it is.
But what got me here
Run it from a laptop.
is not going to get me there. And so it's all of these things. It's the mindset, and that's what my podcast is going to be about.
Good.
It's called Cut the BS, Build the Dream.
I love that. You're welcome to use this place to record anytime you want to.
Thank you.
I think that's so important. Is the podcasting thing's important, and it's a good way for me, like as an MC and a stage host and all that, who runs gear, sit down and have conversations with people. Because this is the only way that this community grows.
It's probably the longest time you sit still on a date too, Pat.
Probably. I think it's honestly really good for me. You know what I mean? And I enjoy it. It's this and then this sauna. We have a little sauna downstairs. I'll show you. It's like
I
a little.
was in mine earlier. I'm not my personal one at the gym.
Yeah.
I love the
It's
sauna.
cool. And it's good
Did you
for
cold
me.
plunge afterwards?
Yeah. So the pool's freezing cold. You could just dive right in the pool.
I jumped in the pool afterward.
It's cold.
So good. And what I do is when I jump in, I say I can do hard things.
Oh,
I can
yeah,
do hard
it's
things.
cold.
I can do hard things.
That cold plunge is brutal. And I think that people that are in the entrepreneur and the business space or you're trying to do something, you're going to realize you're going to get to a certain point where and I can definitely look at this with music. I mean, dude, so many guys that were great songwriters and guitar players and all of this couldn't take care of their health, whether it was their mental or physical or whatever. They just couldn't keep it together.
Yeah.
And I think that keeping it together. If you're keeping it together out
That
there
should be
today,
a podcast.
okay?
name, Keeping it together.
If you're keeping it together out there today and you're still going and dude, come on now. Shout out to you, because
I
it's
believe it, yeah.
hard some days. And it doesn't matter how high on the mountain you get or how low on the mountain you are. You're always going to feel those feelings. They never go away.
It's what you choose to do, right?
They're going to be there.
So our mother is an alcoholic. She is 4 years in April sober.
Wow.
Whoop.
Good for you guys. Congratulations.
So it's that I know it's in me, I know that part of me is in there. And when I do things like cold plunge and I can do hard things, that is me testing my willpower.
I have to now.
Telling myself, hey, you can do the things you don't want to do so that you don't end up making the same choices that your mother did. But our mother, I'm not religious, but if I was, I'd say praise Jesus, praise the universe, praise Buddha, whatever, is sober now. And she has changed her whole life. And if she can do it, I can do it. And anyway, sorry. That gets me emotional.
No, it's great. Dude, listen, faith is real and it's different for everybody.
Different for everybody.
You know what I'm saying? And I've said this before too. And it's, my dad will have a heart issue one day if he ever hears me say it. But, I grew up in the Catholic Church, super strict rules. I mean, first communion, church every Sunday, to the point where I think we got towards like middle school and then high school. It's like, it got to a point where it's like, you feel like you're being forced to go.
Right. And that probably is what pushed me away.
And I
from
don't like
organized
saying
religion.
that. I don't like saying that. It's still uncomfortable, but it is the truth. I felt like, gosh, man, but I signed up for it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change anything because it was a strong foundation of structure.
Sure.
And I think that it was good for me because I
mean,
have a
we
great
were
moral
brought
compass.
Out of the dark ages.
Right.
Truly, by the Renaissance. We as humans were killing each other and there was torture, and there was just, it was crazy.
Everybody did it.
Everybody was doing it, but the Renaissance brought us out. So I think that there's a place for that. But I'm looking over here at this beautiful panoramic. You guys can't see it.
The Northern Lights.
Got the Northern Lights, and there's a glacier, and it's beautiful. To me, that's divine.
Well, yeah, I think that you can find the spirit in anything if you look for it.
Yeah.
And it's different for everybody. It calls to people differently. Mm-hmm. We believe in what it is. Everybody's got their own belief of what that is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But for me, I think that foundation was solid for me, because it's like, listen, I mean, I'm trying to live a good life, like a leadership life. And I think that even if you did use Jesus, it's just he was out there trying to be a leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
there's lessons to be learned.
Go out there and be a leader. And that's why when you see someone who's heroic or does awesome stuff, it reminds you that you are called to be like that. You are called to be great. And you are.
Yeah.
And I think that we tell ourselves, oh, that's not for me, or that Captain America role. Well, he doesn't have to work as hard as it's. No, he worked.
It literally is inside all of us.
Captain America didn't just get those abs by not eating good. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, we have to stop kidding ourselves that this isn't going to take work, that it's easy for someone else, and that it's not for us. Do the work and go out and earn it. Right.
Jocko,
Jocko rocks.
I'm a big fan of David Goggins. Jocko, like, I told you, I'm a little hippie, a little love.
I am too.
Abraham Hicks. But then I'm like, let's fucking grind.
Yeah.
And don't be okay, maybe I'm
it's
taking
okay.
it too far now.
It's okay.
But you got to do what you've got to do, because no one's going to do it for you.
There's no one that's going to do it for you. And also, if you don't do it for yourself and show people that you're capable of it, no one's going to give you any opportunities. Right? Provide them the evidence that you're capable.
What got me here won't get me there, but I'm not doing it for anybody else, because if I'm not proving it to myself, no one's going to listen. If I'm not following myself, who's going to follow me?
I love it. I followed. That's why I like your stuff. It's like you're making it known, showing us the evidence of you doing something. Why wouldn't everybody's going to root for that. And so that's why it's our job. It's to magnify those people. How do we get those people in the room and magnify that, amplify that, let people know what this person's up to, why you should do business with them, why this person's important, why Brittney should be on your speaking stage, X, Y, and Z. So, you know what I mean? Because I remember when I met you, you were like, oh my gosh, I've got this speaking event and I really want to do a great job. I'm sure it went great, right?
I think it did.
It went great. And you were like, but I'm the only woman there, and I feel like there should be so many more women. Okay. I used to feel like every event needed an MC or a guitar player. And so, well, who's going to be that guy? Why don't I just go be that guy and then create that position?
Yeah.
And the second I played that Grant Cardone acoustic gig, 10X2, all of a sudden the next week there's some entrepreneur rapper guy, and then there's this guy that does the drums with entrepreneur songs. That everybody was ripping off my shit. That meant that I knew that I had set a bar up. Now everybody wants to be the business conference music guy. But it's like, dude, that means you're making progress. Okay, well, now how do I take this and systematize it and turn it into something I can sell?
Yeah, because everything can be systematized.
Yeah, and I didn't even know what that word was until Brad Lee said it to me backstage at that event. He was like, dude, I asked Brad Lee, I was like, man, how do I get up there and be a cool, badass speaker like you are? And he's like, well, dude, first, you actually have to be a speaker. So you're going to have to ditch the guitar and quit going up there and spinning around like a dipshit and getting everybody all pumped up. The first minute of your show was the best part of the whole show. And I'm like, what do you mean? All I did was like say I'm Pat and I've been singing in bars for 10 years. And when you wake up in the morning as a kid, this is the moment you dream of. He's like, I had my credit card out, dude. I was ready to buy your dream. And then you started singing. I thought your performance was great, but you asked me, how do I be a baller badass speaker? You had me sold. Speak to me some more.
Yeah, speak more.
Keep talking. It was fantastic. And I'm like, oh, because I felt like at first I'm like, is this guy shitting on me right now? Like, this is like the biggest moment of my life. Will you listen to the question you asked him? I didn't say, how do I become the next John Mayer? How do I become the next Bob Dylan? How do I become the next guy with an acoustic guitar? I asked him, how do I become a baller speaker? Speak.
Yeah.
And I think that was the most important lesson. I'm like, well, maybe I don't need to put on this big show and do all this stuff to try and get anybody's attention. It's a tool in the toolkit, and I still use it. But stop making that your whole thing. You're more than that.
Right.
And I had never really uncovered that before. And then I started to look at it, and I'm like, man, you know how to run gear and do all this and this. You could host your own show. And now
that's back to
we're doing
I feel
it.
like this whole episode should be called Imposter Syndrome, because it goes right back to that. We hide behind what we're comfortable doing. You are hiding behind you as Pat, the
guitar
music,
man.
Yep. And I hide sometimes behind some of my, what I call like the things that make me me. I'm a single mom, or I'm this. I am those things, but I am also so much more. And that's why my podcast that I want to start is not about real estate. It's not about being a mom. It's about the things that I'm still working on, which is my mindset. Because I feel like, and this is a true thing, and you're here doing it with social authority, Pat, it's when we are teaching the things that we are still trying to fully grasp and learn. It's when it sinks in. It's when those claws of understanding get deep in us. Because when we teach it and we really are trying to be better ourselves every fucking day, because I wake up and I don't think, how can I be better for me? I think, how can I be better for my kids? How can I be better for my agents? Because that $6 million that ran through BK Real Estate in 2024, almost all of it went to the agents. I kept very little of that, and I'm so goddamn proud. So proud.
You should be. I sent Christmas bonuses to my team like 3 years in a row. No one ever gave me a fucking bonus.
That feels
ever.
So good.
Nobody ever did that for me. A few people did. I shouldn't say that. It's fucking rare.
Yeah.
But so what, man? I know what it's like. And this still happens recently. Like, I just did an event and, I crushed it and I did this and whatever. It was a huge event. And then I emailed them back and they were like, can you send us a video of like you being an MC or whatever? And I'm like, dude, I literally wrecked your place for 3 straight days. How much more of a replay do you need?
Yeah.
But it's like, sometimes you just can't get offended by how you have to fit the protocol.
Yeah.
And you still have to submit and apply and blah, 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 blah that goes along with being qualified.
Yeah.
It's just part of life.
But
You're never going to feel qualified, and you have to qualify yourself.
Yeah. Heard.
You have to qualify yourself. I am qualified. I'm good. And I'm also good with if that doesn't go through again.
Yeah.
And I'm good with if this doesn't go the same way.
Because you've made it so far. And that's why I say all the time, money's easy to make. Because if this doesn't work out, I know something else will, because I've learned that lesson. Money is easy to make.
Well, yeah. And when you make yourself available and you're committed to providing a solution that has money on the line, you're always going to be a part of a deal.
Oh, yeah. And when you provide value, value is everything.
And I think that the final thing for people in 2025 is being available. And I think part of the key for that, and that's what this, and I'm so glad that we have recorded today, because we can take this and we can use it and we can chop it up and we can make it awesome and fun.
Can
and
you not get that tear rolling down my chin?
I'll get it.
Right, do whatever. I don't care.
But I think that shows a real side of you that a lot of people lack. And some of these interviews, like I could totally write like a whole script and all these questions and do it all, a certain way. So it's real cookie cutter. And I don't know that that's really going to benefit anybody at all.
Yeah. My favorite videos of like David Goggins aren't the ones that have been chopped and edited and totally like renovated. It are the ones where he's running, and the camera guy's right here and he's just like, he's exhausted and he's all like sweat's dripping off of him. His knees are probably hurting and his heart has already given out like a mile back because I don't even know if his heart's real anymore. It's like the Grinch. But anyway, he's running and he's just like spitting out authenticity and like real things. That's the kind of stuff I love. This is cool. You asked, can we go live? All right, let's go.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
And it's so important for people to understand that this doesn't have to be a hard thing. You just have to do it.
Yeah. And when you wake up every day truly thinking, how can I grow myself so I can grow others? Because that's really, at the end of the day, the most successful people are doing that. How can I grow myself so I can grow others? That's when it really sticks.
Yeah, and that's when you become a person that not only can supply for you and provide for you, but now you're providing so much overflow to others that you can't fail.
Yeah.
That's where you become bulletproof.
Yeah.
Is when you can provide so much value for yourself and others that you've got a whole squad of people leveling up, because they're going to continue to lift you up higher and higher and higher.
Yep. And be willing to share, and be willing to share when it's good and when it's bad, when you mess up and when you succeed, because that's where people learn.
Yeah, it's not always going to be pretty.
No.
But it's always going to be
something.
And so what are you going to make it? I think if people knew how much their daily action and their daily habits could shape their results, they would change things quicker.
Hopefully they'd watch less Netflix and get off their damn phones. Unless they're watching our reels.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, get off your phone when it's not serving you leveling up.
Doom scrolling.
Or at least try to figure out how to catch yourself.
Oh, yeah. I have put all these filters in place for myself because I know where I will mess up. I know where I'll mess up. So I have timers. Right? Instagram's 15 minutes. If I'm on there for more than 15 minutes, that's a problem. I could be doing something else.
Totally.
Same thing with wine. Wine is my favorite thing in the world. I love wine. I cannot keep it in the house if I'm trying to have a dry week. I just can't keep it. I can't trust myself. I hide my Instagram at the very last page on my app screen. I set myself limits. We have to know ourselves because we are the main characters of our story. And so we need to know what sets us off, what lights us up, all the things.
Yeah, you do have to know that stuff about yourself, because if you don't, you can self-destruct fast.
Yep.
And that's where the emotion thing comes into play, and you do have to be in control of that. And it can be really difficult sometimes because you meet a lot of people along the journey. They become your best friends, and people come and people go and people come back.
Yep.
And you just have to kind of go with the flow. And we've learned that we've moved people into a group. We're coming out with a whole group for this whole thing. It's a whole brand. Because I think when people ask me what I do and I tell them like social media, they're like, well, what does that mean?
And also everybody these days says influencer or social media or digital marketing.
And so what we sell is we sell social authority packages. And that means we can do your podcast or whatever type of filming you prefer, but we post one video per day to our clients' accounts. So that's 7 videos a week, every week, no days off for the lifetime of people as a customer of our company. And that's why people like RJ that have been with us for 3 years are so competitive, because he's been coming out with 2 videos a day for like 3 straight years just on shorts. And so people out there in the marketplace need to understand that if they want to be the king of a category, well, you're already going up against people that have these systems in place that are trying to acquire the same leads and the same deals that you're trying to acquire. And so you either work with those people, which is what I figured out how to do. I'm like, well, why don't I just work with all the best badasses and put my little wheel in their machine and help them win? Because if they keep winning, then the machine keeps running, I win.
Right.
So you don't always have to build your own machine. And this is where the agents that could work in your system could benefit, is that there's a lot of people who become very valuable in a machine and they're able to create an incredible opportunity for themselves. Like you said, $6 million, and a lot of that, most of that went to agents. Mm-hmm. Dude, where am I? I mean, if I'm a female in DFW and I want to be an agent, that's probably where I'm going.
Yeah. But we have.
I know you do, but I'm just saying, a lot of people say, well, there's no. I hear this a lot because I'm at a lot of conferences, and I don't disagree with women that say it, that there needs to be more female representation. Yeah. Well, dude, you got to find the people, amplify the people. Now you know who to go to.
Yeah.
Because I think that if we want more representation, because I agree with those people when they say that, okay, so what am I doing to make it better?
Right.
Well, I can't just say, oh, well, yeah, that kind of sucks, doesn't it?
But, I feel like man, woman, whatever, there are Pat Hilton variations that are watching what you're doing, that are sitting and playing in the smoky bars night after night and wishing they could do what you're doing, and you're an example to them. I know, like I said earlier, there's a lot of teachers, there's a lot of moms, they need to know that it's possible, it's achievable, money's easy to make, and all it takes, because it's just an equation. Back to my 4th grade math days, it's just an equation. It's really simple. You have to have this unwavering faith. That's the first part. It's X. X is unwavering faith in yourself, in your vision, in your mission, plus massive fucking action. Unwavering faith, massive action, and then that equals this miracle. And that's the equation. That's it.
No, it's awesome. And I think that there's no way people can fail if they're willing to take the daily action. That's the key. And the hardest part is showing up on the days you don't feel great.
Oh, yeah.
When you don't feel great and you still show up, I can assure you that if you're able to do that for the 2 or 3 days, might be 2, 3, 4 days in a row that suck, day number 5 is going to feel a whole lot better. But if you don't do those days, it's just going to prolong how bad you feel. If you don't feel great and then you just try to lay around, you're going to end up laying around and it's never going to go away.
Yep.
You got to walk it off. Like when you get hacked in a soccer game as a kid, I mean, you got to walk it off, man. I mean,
absolutely.
It's just everybody gets tripped up and everybody gets body checked and whatever. I mean, in the game of life, that is part of life. Life is a contact sport.
You know what's so crazy is I still cold call. And I don't do it necessarily for my own business, although here lately I've been taking some leads just because the agents haven't been stepping up. And so I'm like, well, let me show you what I can do.
Let me show you.
Let me show you. So I cold call in front of my team. In fact, yesterday I said, hey guys, at 10:45, I budgeted 30 minutes to make some cold calls. If you want to listen to how I do it, jump on. I had 25 of my agents on this call, just listening. I put my phone on speaker. Hey, Mr. Seller, and I'm showing them it's so damn easy. Why aren't you doing it? It's so easy. Let me show you. I am willing to put myself on the line, get cussed at, but I didn't. It's because not a brain, just my mindset. I go into those calls with sellers and I know I'm going to have a great conversation with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that showing that proof too. Do you stream those or anything? I think
record
you
them.
should post those.
Yeah, well, I don't have one of those little things where it's like, this call's being recorded for quality services or whatever.
Oh, do you need
I don't do that.
Oh, you need to give them the old
I
disclaimer.
Yeah.
The old disclaimer.
Right, and then that might change the call quality. So I just let my agents listen to me.
That's funny. And then, so that's good though. So I'll hop on the computer and I'll flip it around to the other side and I'll work right over there and I'll chop up edits and pull clips and move stuff around and be like, dude, I mean, you guys said this guy's edits are so hard this week. They're not that bad. You guys just have to analyze it the correct way. And then I'll save that video so they can go back and kind of watch how I'm piecing this guys together. People's delivery changes. Like I've noticed it too, especially like when you're having a conversation, you could be on one topic and then flip and then come back to something. Like we've done it a couple times. And so as an editor, you have to know how to like put markers so that you can like go back to something. So it's like, oh, I remember hearing her talk about this in minute 3. Well, now it's minute 20 and that green marker shows back up with keywords in the editor. So I can be like, oh, okay. And then you can piece stuff together. Because sometimes a viral clip, the first part you said was at 5 minutes. The second part you said was at 25 minutes. And we have to be able to put those together so that it's like a complete thing.
I love it.
Isn't that crazy?
Viral, Pat. Go
we could.
Viral.
You could go viral. I think your story is passionate and I think it's inspiring and I think it's awesome that you're willing to be that transparent. I think it's difficult for people.
You know, it gets a little tricky as my kids get older. So my daughter's 12, my son's 14. And yesterday I went to sell dance tickets at my son's school for this PTA dance we're doing. And I told him, I was like, oh, and I'm going up to your school to help with the PTA. And he said, please, Mom, don't. And I was like, why? So right, I'm like, what? He said, they know you. I was like, who knows me? He said, well, everybody knows your name. And one day in class, we were Googling you. And you have a lot of videos that pop up, just real estate stuff.
Right.
And I just think it's so funny. But I have to be now very cognizant of what my kids may possibly hear and see, which I don't say anything that I wouldn't stand behind. And so that's part of the authenticity too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's important to just be, you got to be cognizant of that. And I think that a lot of people will use the fact that they have kids as a crutch sometimes. And sometimes I hate saying certain stuff, but it is the truth. It's like, I have kids, so it's too hard for me to get up. It's too hard for me to do this. Too hard for me to run a business. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, we all have kids too. It's hard for all of us. Shit sucks. Like, I wish I had perfect abs too. Welcome to the club. Like, okay.
You know,
the excuses
so
people come up with.
And it goes it's full circle and everything. I'm not dating right now in my life. I'm focusing on my business and whatnot. But when I was dating, one of the things that I would realize, or I would tell my girlfriends as we're all Sex in the City talking about our dating lives.
Of course.
If a guy likes you, he will make time.
Oh, he will.
Right? He will make time if he likes you. If you really want whatever it is in your business, you're going to make time for it.
It's true.
Whether you have kids or whether you have a chinchilla that hangs out with you at night, doesn't fucking matter. If you want something, you're going to make time for it.
Well, that's the truth. Because, I mean, if a man wants you, he's coming to get it.
That's right.
Because I lock that thing up fast.
I bet you do.
But, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, they don't want it then.
Yep.
A lot of people say they want stuff, and then they do nothing. It's like, you don't want it. You think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would be nice to have that in your thoughts. But if you don't do anything, then you don't really want it.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that's another reason why people look at athletes or they look at famous this or famous that. A lot of the times when you see somebody that got a certain result, and I've heard the argument, especially in music, they were just at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
It was just the right place at the right time.
Luck will get you to one spot, but it won't get you to the end game.
It won't. And dude, at some point, you're either good or you're not.
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, maybe they were lucky and they were in the right place at the right time, but it worked because it was
right,
good.
Like that third string quarterback that made it in and had a great play.
Dude, he was good.
Yeah. He might have had luck that the first two quarterbacks got injured, and so he made it in. But it was the play that he did, and then it was the consistency afterward that got him to starting, right?
We hear that one a lot, don't we? Like the whole, it's like, dude, yeah, but when you're in the right place at the right time, year after year after year, time after time after time after time, don't you think that would eventually be a habit and a discipline that's creating that result?
Exactly.
People don't just get that good and get a great result over and over again because they're lucky.
Right. I mean, I've been in the top 1% of agents in DFW for the last few years.
Oh, wow.
Just, thanks. And the first year
Golf
I was like, man,
clap.
is it lucky? No.
Golf clap.
Is it lucky? No, it's not lucky. The luck is when you do something one time. But when you're consistently doing something, it's because you're good at it. And that's when now I know I can do hard things.
Yeah, you're totally capable of it. And anybody else out there is capable of it too.
If they try.
Yeah. And so if people wanted to look into potentially having an opportunity to work with you or do real estate with you, what's the best way to get in on that, Jazz?
Joinbkre.com is our recruiting page. And then just BK Real Estate TX. We're across Texas right now. We're going to be nationwide someday though, Pat. But we're across Texas right now. We're in every major market in Texas. And so I'd love to have a conversation for anybody who sees themselves as an investor, sees themselves as an agent investor, sees themselves as an agent that wants to know more about investing. I'd love the chance to talk to them.
Yeah, and that's all it takes is a conversation.
Yep.
And I think that when people have a conversation with you or one of your members, they're going to be really excited. And we know that the hardcore grind is going to get the best result. And I'll just say that even before I ask this question, okay? The harder you work, the better results you're going to get when you want to get into any real estate related activities. But is there potential for someone to potentially work part-time?
Yeah, I worked part-time.
All right, good.
I was a school
What's that look like for people? I got a job. I can't do it, Brittney.
Well, that means you have to get up earlier and you got to stay up later. It means instead of when the other teachers are having their lunch in the teacher's lounge and bitching about the fourth graders that they don't really want to teach, you're in your office grinding, then that's what you do. My first year selling real estate, Pat, when I was teaching as well, I made like $25,000. I was like, whew, that's amazing. That paid off some debt.
Not bad.
Took my kids to
Good
Disney.
for you.
Year 2, I doubled it. Year 3, I made $80,000 selling real estate, $60,000 as a school librarian here in South Lake. And then I was like, I need to trust myself. I need to give myself a shot. I quit teaching. Scariest thing I ever did. I had 2 kids at home. You know, you cannot survive off ramen forever.
No.
And it was so scary. I left benefits. I left security. That next year, I made $250,000 selling real estate because I was so nervous and scared. I had that why, and then the next year I doubled that. And then every year it's been this new, exciting challenge and growth opportunity because I gave a shot to myself.
That's incredible. Yeah, I remember when my wife quit her teaching job. My wife was a preschool teacher, early education. And she
were
quit.
My favorite in the library.
Right? And so she quit in 2018, 6 or 7 months after I did that Cardone gig, and I had the agency going, and we moved to Texas in 2019. And I remember being like, man, I mean, the health insurance is going to be gone. I got to do X, Y, and Z.
You could have stayed, though, doing all the other things. You could have had her, please don't do it. Please don't leave. But that's fear talking. That's scarcity thinking.
I was like, you got to quit. You got to take care of the kids so that I can work during the day. I was taking care of the baby during the day, singing at the bar at night. And so she'd come home and we'd like switch shifts. And I'm like, dude, we can't live like this, dude.
That's not a life worth living either. I think for us to be our fullest expression, that highest version, I keep pointing off in the distance.
I love it.
Because I'm not there yet. I'm doing a lot of great things, but I'm not where I want to be because what got me here is not going to get me there.
Nope.
And it's the daily grind. It's the choices. It's the sacrifices. It's understanding when you have something bigger than you that you're fighting for. Now I've got 100 agents that I want to see succeed. I have kids that I want them to have a better life than me. I've got sisters on my payroll, and if we don't have payroll that month, it's me that's footing the bill. But that gives me so much initiative, so much drive, so much fire.
People that don't run businesses or that haven't built a business should not be feeling down by the fact that entrepreneurs say things like, oh, if you just work a job or if you work a job. It's not meant to be a degrading statement. Some people don't want all the weight and all the stress and the anxiety.
Lil Wayne says, I got weight on my shoulders. To me, it feels like feathers.
Right.
But it's not true. It doesn't really feel like feathers. But, it's that weight that reminds me and you all the time of what you can do and what you can achieve. How many years have you been doing this? It's not been many.
This particular style of entertainment, I mean, we literally bought this house last year and I started doing a bunch of podcasting. And so it's recent.
You can change your life in an instant. I've only been in real estate for 7 years. I've only had BK Real Estate open for 2 years.
Wow.
4 years ago, I was still a teacher in Southlake.
Yeah, there you go.
4 years ago.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, 10 years ago, I was living in my van. 7 years ago, I was just getting out of those bars singing. And I mean, it's been a long road. But yeah, this agency, we're about 6, 7 years old. And we started in the spare bedroom in our bedroom in a little 2-bedroom apartment in California. Yeah. And I would just sit on the bed and go live. And all my clients were in Texas. It was like all the Tim Harridges and the Mike Hambrights were the guys that I kind of met first when I first moved here. And again, you got to look for people that fit what you're trying to be in your community.
I say these same things to myself every morning when I wake up and every night when I go to bed. And one of them is I keep the promises I make to myself. Every night I go to bed knowing that I've done the best I can. And I release the expectations of certain outcomes. And I know that the right people, circumstances, and events are going to enter my life when the time is right. That's the mantra I live by. Because if I'm doing those things and I'm saying those things and I believe those things, then good things are going to happen.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, they're going to continue to happen for you. Because again, like this, we've been recording. I've been recording and producing stuff since I was like 15 in the garage. So if you were really to take a number of how long have I been doing it, like 25 years, but how long have I been doing it with the radio guy thing?
Well, and
only
with
a few years.
The intention that you have right now, right? With the clarity of mind, because I've heard your story before. You've told us a little. the clarity of mind, with the intention behind it. It's those things coupled with the drive and the action that make the things happen. Because if you're doing X, Y, and Z one day, but then the next day you decide to fuck off and forget your priorities and all the things, then you're not going to get there. It's 2 steps forward and 3 steps back.
Mm-hmm.
It's the consistent daily action. It's the showing up for yourself that's going to get you there.
Yeah, it is showing up for yourself. And that's probably the most important line of the show. Like, are you showing up for yourself today? Because we spend so much time showing up for our kids and for our employees. Or if you work a job, you're showing up for the boss.
Can't
or
pour
this.
from an empty cup.
And you just feel like you just can't get ahead. Nothing is ever enough. Whether you're the boss or you're the employee, trust me, the boss feels the same. The person you think is the boss that maybe has it, you look at them and you think they've got it together and it's so easy. It's not.
No.
It is not. They're going through the same shit. It's just with a different zero next to it. And all of us have the same problems.
And the more zeros you have, the harder it is. The bigger the mistakes you make,
Oh, yeah.
the more consequences that happen. And so, but the reason that there's only a handful of CEOs in the world, it's not that the job of CEO is hard. It's the climb it takes to get there. When you're going up against a fucking ninja wall, right? It's like a curved wall. And you just keep climbing up and sliding down and climbing up. And it's the ones that make it and hit that buzzer at the top, the CEOs.
It's the tallest wall ever. And the funny thing is that when you get and you hit the ding, you realize that the only place to go is another wall that goes higher.
Yep.
And that means that sometimes you actually have to dip to get the momentum to hit that wall. Because we always think that we've reached a height, and then it's like, oh my gosh, that height, like whether it's revenue or this or that, or adrenaline or a show at Mandalay Bay. I mean, I might never play in that room again.
Yeah.
But I did it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you might play in it again.
Maybe I will. Maybe I'll
next
sell it
time
out.
You'll be introducing Lil Wayne.
Right. Or he'll be introduced and maybe we'll be
Wayne
rapping
just,
together.
like, messaged
Yeah,
me
Lil
on
Wayne.
Instagram, please.
I mean,
I've given you so many shout outs today.
She really has. Lil Wayne, I think it's only fair that we, consolidate here and bring you into the content hub next time Brittney's here. You're definitely welcome anytime.
Absolutely.
We'd
I know
love
you're
to
a
have
Libra,
you.
September 27th. You share a birthday with my daughter.
There you go. See, you even share a daughter's birthday, Lil Wayne. I mean, why are you not here, bro? Come hang out with us.
I'm taller than you, but it's fine.
Dude, yeah. I mean, next time you're in Dallas, come on by. I'll order your VIP Uber or whatever you need, buddy. You just let me know. You let your boy know. But like a guy like that, he went out and he did what he wanted to do, and it popped off. He's got some great tracks.
And also, one of the things about him that I really admire as well is he's himself. Good, bad, ugly. He's himself.
I've seen him in some interviews, and he's a sharp guy. That stuff doesn't just happen by accident.
No, not that many things.
No,
right?
dude.
Sit back to the luck scenario. Accidents, luck, whatever. It's
I would
the hard daily actions that you do.
even argue that Drake probably wouldn't be on top of the game today like he is if Lil Wayne wouldn't have brought him up in the game with him. Would you say
I
that
like
that's
that.
true?
And I'm also a Nicki fan too.
I
like
love
her.
Nicki
I
Minaj.
know. I took my daughter to her concert. It might have been a little
Nicki
inappropriate,
Minaj
but
rules. So, I think she's got more number one singles than any other
she
female
is,
artist, doesn't she?
Yeah, top female artist.
Is Nicki Minaj the number one selling female artist of all time? Well, I mean, we're going to either find out. Minaj is one of the world's best-selling music artists and the best-selling female rapper.
I love
so
it.
she is the best-selling female rapper. I knew that. She sold over 100 million records. Has 3 diamond certified songs. That means 10 million by the RIAA. And in 2024 became the first female rapper with multiple diamond certified solo tracks.
I love it. I love
Nikki,
it.
my girl.
I
Come
know.
on through the content hub, Nikki. Come on through. Nicki Minaj, you're welcome here anytime on the Social Authority Show. You might bring us a whole bunch of views. We'll buy lunch. We'll buy the whole 9 yards. You guys come on through. Bring the whole crew. But hey, listen, crazier things have happened, right?
Crazier things have happened.
And we were talking earlier on a call about my personal brand and like what kind of stuff we want to post. And I think that I can get a little bit more comedic this year because I think they're going to be easier on comedians and restrictions because I've kind of held off on that because I don't want to get my shit locked up. for roasting people or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of laid off of that content because it was not worth it there for a while to go there.
If the Matt Rifes can be viral and all the other guys.
Matt Rife is great.
Hey, listen, drink water, breathe air.
There you go. Drink water, breathe air, and follow Brittney Kosev. So if you could give people one tip on the biggest breakthrough you've ever had came from what action? What's one daily action that people could do in 2025 to win big from BK?
This is so easy.
The one thing they can do to be successful in 2025, the one thing that if they do it today and every other day, starting today.
Read. People put all of their expertise, thousands and thousands of hours of what they're good at into a book that costs $30. That'll take you 2 weeks to read if you're slow, less time if you're fast. You can even audio it. And you can learn that content. Read a damn book from a former school librarian.
There you go. Read a damn book.
Read a damn book.
In 2025. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Social Authority with your boy Pat Hilton, joined by Brittney Kosev. Make sure to add her as a friend on Facebook. Follow her on Instagram and everywhere else. And thank you for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, Pat.
Rock and roll. We'll see you on the next one. There it is.
Maybe Lil Wayne will get to hang out with us after this.
Dude, that'd be so cool.
You need to put all the hashtags, DM him.